my friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And what I have for you today is a Blu-ray haul video, but we're going to do it a little differently because one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about, because I want these videos to be helpful. I don't want them to just be me showing a bunch of stuff that I picked up and moving on. I want you to get something out of it, whether it's a movie recommendation or maybe tricks and tips, things like that. And today I thought we should talk about building your movie collection on a budget. Because let's face it, we're all kind of facing an unknown future. We don't know what the current situation, how it's going to end up, how it could affect your jobs, your income, maybe investments, things like that. So things like collecting and hobbies are really a luxury when you think about it. It's not going to put a roof over your head. It's not going to put food on your table. It's not going to pay your car payment, anything like that. So I know I've been talking to quite a few friends in the movie community, and we've all kind of come to the mindset that we find ourselves being a lot more mindful about our purchases and really seeking out good deals. And there's quite a few ways to get them, and I thought I'd talk about one of those today. And the other thing is that when you think about the new releases, we don't really have any new releases for who knows, for the foreseeable future, because theaters aren't open, studios aren't filming movies, so it could be a while before we see a legitimate new release. What we're getting is repackaging, maybe an upgraded transfer, but for the most part it's either straight to video titles, which I'm not really big into those, or we're getting just repackaged and rebranded things that we already have, like The Town or Gladiator, which I'm guilty of picking up, Braveheart, which I just gave away yesterday, but things like that. So I've really been pulling back, where before, like I said, I would have gotten Gladiator and Braveheart, but I didn't. I just got one. And the other thing is that the prices, the steelbooks, in my opinion, have priced themselves right out of reality, for lack of a better term. You used to get a steelbook $15, $20. Now they're up to almost $40 for a new release on many of them. So, I've kind of been cutting back on those. Plus, I don't know that the quality's always there. The artwork isn't always up to par. Some of them are still nice, but, not something that I've consistently stayed with. It's kind of fallen off by the wayside, because I think the slipcover versions are just as nice and, sometimes even nicer. But today, in particular, what I wanted to talk to you about is Hamilton Book. And if you've been around the community, collector community for a while, you've probably heard people talk about Hamilton Book. And that's a nice way to pick up a variety of studio titles that it's kind of, think of like an overstock.com, what that used to be, is where they would just get overstocks, they buy a big lot of movies and they put them up on their website, and you can get movies anywhere from $3.95 up to maybe $24 for like an Arrow release. But it's not just Hamilton Book. If you don't have accessibility to Hamilton Book, all the studios run sales, and if you go to their site, you get on their mailing list, you'll get notified for flash sales, you'll get notified for upcoming sales. Think Kino Lorber, Scream Factory, 88 Films, Arrow, Eureka, any of these big studios that we love to collect, they all have sales, like the Criterion one that we just did. And if you get on their mailing list, make a list of the studios you like, put yourself on the mailing list, and you will get notified for flash sales, and you can save a lot of money that way. So that's just my little blurb for, where my mind's at with collecting. And let me know if you've cut back or if you've been more mindful of your spending as far as your collections. Let me know down in the comments. So I'm just going to go through what I got from Hamilton Book, and this is a couple of different pickups that I've gotten. Now, each shipment of theirs is a flat $5 shipping fee, so you can get as many titles as you want in that particular order, and they'll ship it to you for $5. So that's a nice thing too. And this first one is one that I talked about in my last video, but it is still available. Steve Carell and Keira Knightley in Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. This is $3.95 on Hamilton Book. I just looked at it before I started this video, so that's still available. And that's a great one. I don't regret that at all. And what I do, just as an aside, what I do when I'm on the site is I look at the titles that are there, and a lot of times they'll look like not something I would necessarily be interested in, just by the cover. So I click on it, I see the synopsis, and then I use IMDb, and I see what the rating is, because I find personally that IMDb is the most balanced and the most accurate as far as their ratings. Usually if they give something a high rating, it's earned that high rating, and if it has a low rating, it's earned the low rating. So just as a little tip, pick out your titles, look on IMDb, see if it fits what you were hoping it would be. Now the second one, if you enjoyed Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks, I think you're really going to like this one. This is inspired by real events. It's called The Hijacking. And this was, I believe it was a Dutch cargo ship. It's a cargo ship, and it was taken over by Somalian pirates. And I think they held them for like, it was almost a year or just over a year while they were negotiating with the company about these millions of dollars that they wanted to let these guys go and let the ship go. And this follows the story. And I thought this was really good. It held my attention. And I would say the difference between this and Captain Phillips is that Captain Phillips definitely felt a lot more Hollywood, if you will, where this kind of felt more like an actual documentary to me. I think I liked this one a little more, but it really depends on what your taste is. But I got this for a reasonable fee on Hamilton Book, and I do believe that it's still available. So if you like things like that, like real life, like the hijacking and all that, this had a lot of good tension. The pacing was good. I thought the acting was believable. I thought it was really well done. So a hijacking is another one that I would recommend. And this one, this is admittedly a guilty pleasure. And with everything that's been going on and with being in lockdown for months and months and months, I just needed to just turn my brain off and laugh. And believe it or not, this sold out like lightning on Hamilton Book. Kingpin with Woody Harrelson. This is just so funny and so, it's just crude, cringeworthy humor, but it's a good one. I didn't have it in my collection. I felt like watching it, and I couldn't believe it. 2 days later, 3 days later, I went on Hamilton Book, and it was sold out already. So, unfortunately, Kingpin is not still available, but in my mind, I'm thinking maybe if it sold so well, if they get a chance to pick up another lot, I'm sure that they'll add it back into their availability page. Now, this next one is another really good documentary. There's quite a few documentaries in here, but we have other things too. It's called City of Ghosts, and this one is it's from 2015. It was a nominee for Best Documentary Feature. It is a movie. It follows the journey of a group of activists who banded together after their homeland was taken over by ISIS in 2014. And basically what happens is these guys, ISIS finds out that these guys are reporting to the rest of the world what's going on and the violence that's going on and what ISIS is doing to their once peaceful home. And ISIS finds out, and then there's basically a bounty on their head, so they have to leave. And then they try to report from other places. They go to, I think, Turkey and a couple other places. They end up having to really move around because ISIS has a way of constantly finding out where they are, and they find out who they are. And this is a nail biter. I really, really enjoyed this. And if you like documentaries, history documentaries, and this is really at the start of ISIS, so if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend this one. It's one of the best that I've seen in a long time. This is what the cover looks like. If you could see that. But yeah, this is a good one, and I did get this on Hamilton Book, I think for maybe $4.95. And this next one, so relevant, especially for the civil unrest and the movement that we have going on in the United States here, where people are trying to activate change. This is a PBS documentary, and it's called Freedom Riders. And what this took place in 1961, and segregation was still prevalent, especially in the southern area of the United States. And we had these groups of people, college students for the most part. They came from every lifestyle, every genetic lifestyle, everything you can think of, all kinds of ethnicities, religions, everything. You name it, they were on there. They had Jewish people, they had Catholic people, they had black people, they had white people. And what they decided to do is get on these buses, typically Greyhound, and they would ride them down through the southern states where the bus stations were still segregated, and all they wanted to do was be able to go in and use the regular lobby, not a separate lobby that was, put off for black riders. They wanted to go into the regular lobby where everyone was welcome and wait for the next bus. And this is the story of what they went through to make this happen. And it was a peaceful, non-violent protest. Basically what they did is they got on the bus, they had no weapons, they never raised their hands to anyone, they would not fight back, and they were beaten and they were stalked, and they were there was death threats out against them, and you name it, it happened. And if they had people that ended up in the hospital because they were beaten so bad, they would fill up a new bus of riders and they would go down. So it just kept going until somebody had to do something. And I don't want to give too much away about this, because if you don't know the story, you will learn a lot from it. There were people that could have done more to help them, and it took a long time for them to act, and that was really eye-opening to me. But in today's age, where we have all kinds of protests and all kinds of things, peaceful and not peaceful, this is a really good film to learn from, and this is part of how change starts to happen. And I couldn't recommend this more. I think everyone should see it. Black, white, Jewish, Catholic, whatever you are, I think it's really important for everybody to get on board and see movies like this. And I personally think it should be shown to everyone, even in schools, because it's a really eye-opening movie. And they actually talk to a lot of the freedom riders who are still alive today, and they get their perspective on what went on. So excellent, excellent documentary. And this other one, this was just, I never heard of it before. I didn't know what to expect. I looked on IMDb, and it got pretty good ratings. And I would say, for what I paid for it, which I think was $3.95, it wasn't bad at all. It entertained me. It's going to make my shelf. It's Vin Diesel in Find Me Guilty. It's based on the true story of Fat Jack DeNorsico. And Fat Jack was a gangster in New Jersey, surprise, surprise, and he was with the Lucchese crime family, and they ended up getting brought in on a RICO act, and they were all on trial, so it was kind of, they were all lumped together, and he decided to defend himself in court. And what a great story this is. Vin Diesel is so good in this role, and the dialogue in the movie is taken from actual court transcripts, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, did he really just say that? And they said it's from actual court transcripts. So that's what you get with the dialogue. What you see is what you get. So this is very true to the source material from what I've discovered in my research and things like that. But if you get a chance to check this one out, I would say it's really a good one, and didn't disappoint me. I was fine with it. It kept good. The pacing was good. The acting was good. Everybody in the movie was good. It was very believable. Felt very authentic. If you've ever been to New Jersey, you know what New Jersey feels like. But it felt very Jersey. So definitely check out Find Me Guilty. And I'm going to grab a few more and we'll wrap this one up. Okay, guys, I'm back and I have a few more movies to go through, and we're going to wrap this one up. This one is a Draft House movie. If you're not familiar with Draft House, Google them, because their movies were going for about $20 to $22 when they were selling them off their own website. And I got a bunch of Draft House movies for $4.95, and they're all still available on Hamilton Book on the site. This one I watched last night. It's called The Look of Silence, and it's a documentary, and it's actually the second documentary. It's a follow-up to a film that I already had from Draft House called The Act of Killing. It's about the same subject, but I thought The Act of Killing was good, but this blew me away. The Look of Silence. It says on the front, a masterpiece. It's absolutely a masterpiece. This is about a genocide that happened in Indonesia in 1965. What happened is the military decided that they were going to overthrow the current government, and when they did, they committed genocide. They killed over 1 million people who they labeled as communists. And for whatever reason, they just decided that was the word they were going to use. And if you didn't fit what they wanted you to be, you were a communist. And in this film, they talk about what they did to them, how they killed them, and it's horrific. And the core of this story is about one young man who is an optometrist. And he decides to confront the people that he knows killed his older brother. He never met his older brother, but he knows who he is and he knows of his story. And he goes around with the filmmaker and he's fitting people for glasses. And while he's fitting them for glasses, he starts talking to them about the events that happened pertaining to his brother. And what he's trying to do is he's kind of trying to get some sort of maybe a feeling of regret or compassion for him and his family. And you'd be surprised with how some of these people act. And I wouldn't have wanted to be him in this movie, and I give him a lot of credit because he's a very, very brave young man. But this was a fantastic movie. The Look of Silence, I can't recommend it enough. Even if you don't like documentaries, you're going to love this one. It is in Indonesian with English subtitles, but again, it's one of those films that the subtitles are not so heavy that it takes over the movie. You can definitely enjoy the movie while reading the subtitles, but definitely give this one a look. And for $4.95, it's so worth it, and this is never going to leave my shelf. So that was my first one. Now the next few, I have one of them I've watched, but it's been a while, but I haven't watched these yet. They just recently came in. The next one is called Standing Up, and this sounds really cool. It's a documentary about 3 stand-up comedians who are trying to make it in New York, which, if you know anything about New York, it is a tough place to make it because it's the center of the arts world, and arts and entertainment are huge there, and that's where people go. There in LA. 2 places where people who want to make it in the arts go, and this follows 3 of them while they are trying to make it in stand-up comedian. One of them, David Finkelstein, is an Orthodox Jew. Sarah Parks moved to New York to become a comic star, but is barely scraping by with menial jobs, and she's on the verge of being homeless. And the last guy is a successful personal injury lawyer whose Egyptian immigrant parents discouraged him from pursuing stand-up. So these sound like 3 really interesting people to follow. I can't wait to watch it and give you guys an update on what I thought of it. And this next one, it's not even opened yet. It's called Paperman. It stars Jeff Daniels, Ryan Reynolds, Emma Stone, and Lisa Kudrow. And it says it's grow up time. And here is the cover. And anything with Ryan Reynolds in it, I'm in. This is an R-rated movie, and it says Ryan Reynolds is loony in the best way. And on the back, he's standing in like a superhero costume. But it really sounds like a dark comedy, and what it's about is these people who can't seem to find the same enjoyment and passion for their work life as they can in their imagination. So this can either be really good or it can go horribly wrong. But like I said, I didn't pay a lot for it, so I'm definitely looking forward to. I might check this out tonight, and I can give you an update on it after I watch it as to if it is worth making my shelf or not. And it's still available on Hamilton Books, so if you want to check it out for yourselves, give it a look. But Ryan Reynolds, how bad could it be? And this next one gets highest praise. Again, it's still not even open. It just showed up today. It's called Conan O'Brien Can't Stop. It says it's hilarious. IndieWire, 2 thumbs up from Ebert Presents at the Movies. And I like Roger Ebert. When he would review, I always thought his reviews were pretty much on point. And this follows Conan O'Brien right after the time when he left The Tonight Show. And he went on a stand-up tour. And I guess he doesn't normally do stand-up, so people said it's a really great documentary. I've seen other creators who have picked this up, and I think it was Rick from Down to Movie. He picked this up, and he was really looking forward to it, and I've heard nothing but good things. And I do like Conan O'Brien a lot. I love, his writing style and his comedic style. I think he's very smart. So I'm looking forward to checking this one out and giving you a further report on that. And this one is one that I wanted to pick up so long ago, and I totally forgot about it. It's another Draft House film. And I saw it on the Hamilton book page, and I had to get it. It's called The Dog. And if you've seen Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino, this is the real guy who committed... The Dog Day Afternoon was based on real events. This is the guy who actually held up the bank to get the money to get his lover a transition surgery for he was a man who wanted to become a woman, and he wanted to rob the bank to get him the money to transition. And this is the real story of the guy who robbed the bank, and what a life he lived. Even things I've read about him, crazy life. He dated men, he dated women, he was a mama's boy. I mean, you name it, he was a little crazy. So I think this is going to be really interesting to see the real life character. So I'll give you a report on that one after I watch it. And this one I have seen, but it's been a little while. It's another Draft House film. It's called Raiders, the story of the greatest fan film ever made. This is about a group of friends. I believe they're 11-year-old. Yeah, 3 11-year-old boys. And they want to make a shot-for-shot reenactment of the Raiders of the Lost Ark movie. And they set out to do this. And I believe they work on it for 7 years. And they don't quite finish. They have one scene that they have to finish, and then over 2 decades later, the trio reunites with the original cast members from their childhood in order to complete their masterpiece. So, from what I remember, this is a great documentary, and if you're a fan of Raiders of the Lost Ark and fan films, this is definitely one that you're going to want to see, and I believe this is still available. It may not be because I got it a little while ago, but so worth it. You can probably still find it on Amazon, but really a good one if you like Indiana Jones. Now these last three, these are all Arrow titles, and these were a little more expensive. These were $24 each, but considering what Arrow prices are, and they're pretty new releases. They're recent releases from Arrow. Haven't seen any of them. The first one is called Vigil, and this is from Arrow Video. The other two are from Arrow Academy. And this one kind of reminds me of, I believe it's called The Guest. They have a family member on a farm who dies, and then this stranger suddenly shows up and tries to help out and console the family. So that kind of reminded me of The Guest, and we'll see what happens with this one, but it got decent reviews. It says there's a lot of tension, a lot of suspense, and I like all that. So we'll see if this makes my shelf. I'll definitely get back to you with more on that one. That's called Vigil. And this next one is a French comedy. It's called Life is a Long Quiet River. This is from Arrow Academy, and what it is it's in French with English subtitles. We have two families. I guess one is more well off than the other, and they believe their children were switched at birth. So this is not a documentary, it's just a movie, but it's supposed to be hilarious, and I can't wait to check this out and give you guys some more thoughts on it because it sounds like a really good premise. And this last one is also from Arrow Academy, and I just recently saw it released from Arrow Academy, so I was really surprised to see it on Hamilton Book, but it's called Hiroshima, and it's a Japanese film. It's about the events of Hiroshima, and it is in Japanese with English subtitles, and it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting film, but it follows the events of the Hiroshima bombing, and I have a feeling this is going to be a bit of a hard watch, but I'm looking forward to it because I do like movies about history and whatnot, so this sounds like it's right up my alley. So those are the films that I picked up from Hamilton Book, and I hope at least you got an idea of what they have to offer. They have a wide variety of things. I mean, you can find pretty much any label that you want. They even have, I know Walmart had a bunch of the Universal Monsters with the glow-in-the-dark slip covers. I'm seeing those pop up on there now, and I think they're $5 or $6. So if you like all that stuff, and a lot of them do, if they're showing the slipcover, it comes with the slipcover, but a lot of films, even the Scream Factories and IFC Midnight Films, they'll come with the slipcover, so it's worth your time to check it out. And if you've made any good finds, or if you know of any sites where you can get some good deals on Blu-rays, DVDs, whatever, leave them in the comments. So I hope you found this video enjoyable and helpful, and if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, leave me some comments, suggestions, recommendations, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I'm going to be back soon, probably by the weekend, to give you guys some more fun stuff. But for today, that's a wrap.